Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream on the History By podcast. And today I'm joined by Dr. Terry Traster. And we're going to be discussing archaeological evidence for the New Testament characters, stuff like that. And that being said, Terry, thank you for joining me today. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about before we get to the presentation?
We're going to be talking about ossuaries, which are bone boxes, which you can think of like a coffin with a headstone, where they put the bones in. But it also, the ones we're going to talk about today have inscriptions on them that tell you whose ossuary it is. First, we're going to start off with going through some crosses, because crosses were not supposed to be Christian symbols before Constantine, and that's completely false. So we're going to go through the evidence for that. Then we're going to hit different tombs, different necropolises, and go through the ossuaries.
All right, I got up on the screen.
So this is the Great Isaiah Scroll, and you can see different places where there is an X mark. That's called the Tav. So the Tav is the precursor for the cross. You can see it here as kind of a X instead of the straight up and down, like what we think of as the T for the cross, but they both meant the same thing, as we're going to see here. So this is the Great Isaiah Scroll from Qumran, from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And everywhere you see one of these marks, it's denoting one of the messianic passages. So they're denoting one of the messianic passages in the Great Isaiah Scroll with the Tav, the precursor for the cross. This is a tomb. The Sanhedria tomb is what they're called. And this tomb went out of use after the destruction of Jerusalem in 70. And you can see above the tomb are crosses. And this was documented by J. Jotham Rothschild. And he also found a metal cross in one of the Kokim that he dated to pre-70. He dated all of this to pre-70. So we have crosses on tombs dated to pre-70, and he found a metal cross inside of one of the tombs that dates to pre-70. This is the Pool of Siloam. This was destroyed in 70, and you can see in the middle there is the cross, and then you can see it's called an upsilon cross. At the ends of the cross, you can see like a U-shaped. And this is Yochanan, the crucified man. A lot of scholars will say that Jesus probably did not get buried because Romans didn't bury crucified people. That is false. We have here evidence that crucified people were given proper burials. This is, you've probably seen this before. This is at Herculaneum. This is like a prayer altar. And then there was a wooden cross behind a hidden shelf. So they didn't want the Romans to know that they had a cross there. And this is dated to pre-79 because Vesuvius erupted in 79, and that was the end of Pompeii and Herculaneum. The top here is graffiti talking about the Christians, and this is Pompeii, Herculaneum. So we have in graffiti people talking about the Christians, and it dates to pre-79. The Seder Square that you see here, that was at somebody's house. He owned a bakery. he also had the cross next, the cross that you're seeing there. So, excuse me, the Seder square is the Pater Noster. Maybe people may have heard it like that. And that's talking about the Our Father. This was a secret that Christians use among themselves to tell each other, hey, I'm a Christian. Because if you just look at it, it's just a bunch of letters in a box. But if you know what it means, you know what it is, then it's like a secret handshake, you may say. This is the ossuary of Simon Bar Jonah. And people may know him by his other name, which is the Apostle Peter. You could have Peter buried in Rome, as the standard narrative goes, and then his ossuaries moved, his bones moved in an ossuary to Jerusalem. You could have it either way, or maybe he wasn't buried in Rome, but if he was buried in Rome, it's still this ossuary can still support that, because the bones could have been moved. Everybody wanted to be buried on the Mount of Olives because that's where the general resurrection is supposed to take place. So it's very important to be buried in Jerusalem, Mount of Olives. Here we have another of the X kind of cross. This is Shalom Zion, which means peace of Zion, peace of Jerusalem. And you can see they added the X style cross on here. This ossuary is in the same, I should start over. These next few ossuaries are going to be from the Dominus Flevit on the Mount of Olives. And the next few here I'm going to talk about are in a specific chamber. So we had Simon Bar Jonah in this chamber, and we have the peace of Zion with the cross in this chamber. Then I forgot to add one slide. I thought about having it added, but it's not worth it. There is another ossuary with another cross, and that was Jude the proselyte with a Tav and Shapira. This is really cool. So we have the standard for the IX, the Jesus Christo, and then you have the additional B there. And I found a ring. This is called the Andreas ring. And the B is an abbreviation for both those, which means help. So this ossuary has on it Jesus Christ help, or Jesus Christ helper. And there's the ring. We could spend a lot of time on this. This is a lintel at Farge, which is across the Jordan. No good way to really date it, except for it's probably pre-Constantine, because Jewish Christians kind of got the raw end of the deal after Constantine. But you can see here there are menorahs mixed with crosses on the same lintel. So in the same space where you see a menorah, you also see the Christian cross. And one thing, there's a couple things I'll point out real quick. The very top right here, there's a famous archaeologist, Dr. Strange is his name. And he said, well, obviously that's a cup. And wouldn't it be something if that's trying to depict the Holy Grail? I'm not saying that it is or anything, but just a little something there. And then the second one from the bottom on the far left, we have a menorah. And then if you look closely, they also have a fish in it. So these are obviously Jewish Christians, with the mix between the crosses and the menorahs. And if you also look at where it says 5.3, you see there's like an extra line. And we're going to go back before I go to the next slide. The bottom slide here, you can see the menorahs, but then they also have an extra bar that turns it into a cross. So you have a cross menorah mix right here. So this is the symbol I was talking about. This is from a different tomb complex. This is from the Mount of Offense. And if you look at this, how this is stylized here, and this is stylized on the previous slide, 5.3, the very far left. And then you look at the different water depictions, the next symbol there. And then if you go to the top here, it looks like water. It looks like this tomb, the people that made the Farge lintel, they all use the same symbols. So we can track these people, the Jewish followers of Jesus, from Jerusalem across the Jordan into the Pella Decapolis region. This is Jude, and then you can see at the very first letter, they've stylized that into an anchor. And then if we go back to the Farge lintel here, you can see on 5.2, the far right, where that is also an anchor. So that's a common symbol. Before I forget, on the Farge lintel here, you have in English ESTHU, which means Esthu, that translates into one God. So you have Jewish Christians putting on their lintel one God. This is from the same tomb complex. This says Jesus, Jesus, with the Tav cross in front of it, and then the Alpha, which is like our A without the line through it. So this says Jesus, Jesus, with the Tav cross, and then the Alpha. So, as you know, it's the Aleph and the Tav, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And this is probably, since the name Jesus is repeated, it's probably some kind of prayer or something. The person in this ossuary is probably not named Jesus. It's probably some kind of epitaph talking about the Aleph Tav, beginning end, Alpha Omega, Jesus, Jesus. We have more anchors on the ossuary. And then this one. Okay. So this is a cross. Obviously, this is a cross. And the standard narrative is crosses did not exist in Christianity before Constantine. Constantine invented the cross symbol. This symbol, this tomb was closed in 70. There is a narrative that somebody in the later centuries crawled into this tomb and on this ossuary carved this cross, didn't do anything else in the tomb, just went in the tomb, carved a cross on this ossuary, and left. To me, that does not pass the sniff test at all whatsoever. This cross was put on there before 70. Same tomb complex. I'm sorry, not the same one, just not very far down the road on the Mount of Offense. This ossuary actually has a cross in a circle, as you can see at the bottom left. Then on the right side, you can see another Tav cross. And then on one of the short ends is another Tav cross. Then this goes back to the lintels across the Jordan. And this is, this you can see on the right and left side, these are crosses. And then in the center, you have one of the Upsilon crosses that's also built into the menorah. So if you look at this again, this is another another case in the center here where you have the menorah mixed with the cross. Now we're getting into some fun stuff. Do you want to stop? You have any questions so far before I hit the good stuff here, Jacob?
Well, we do have a super chat.
Okay.
Gib Hayes, thank you for your super chat. Doctor, could you expound on evidence of crucified individuals given proper burial and arguments or evidence that stands against said evidence? Thank you.
Besides this person, besides Yochanan, we also have somebody in UK, Great Britain, that was also given a proper burial after crucifixion. So this is not the only one. Yochanan is not the only one that got a decent burial. And as far as evidence saying that you wouldn't get one, the Romans don't have to be nice. The Romans don't have to give you a good burial. I would think they also don't want to. They know how important burial is, and they don't want issues. They don't want problems. They want peace. They don't want uprisings. So I don't think it's a far stretch to think that maybe not all, but many people probably did get that were crucified probably did get decent burials. Okay. Thank you, sir. Do I hit the button now, or do you hit it, or?
No, I was muted. I forgot to unmute myself. I was trying to say,
Okay.
M&D, thank you for your super chat.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you for this great presentation. Okay, we're back on your slides.
Okay, so here we have Jerusalem, and then right underneath Jerusalem, we have Arimathea. And this is a map by Claude Condor in the 1880s. And so we can assume that Arimathea means two hills. So where I'm going with this is Joseph of Arimathea. So we now have, I don't think we knew before this map if we exactly knew where the person Joseph of Arimathea may have been from, but now we know it's south of Jerusalem here. I found this. This is my find. This is the famous Yosei ossuary. It's famous in a very small circle, maybe not famous like you would think about famous, but this is from the Talpiot Garden Tomb. And when I first saw this ossuary, I was looking at it very, very closely to see if there was anything there. And in the bottom right, I thought, my gosh, that looks like a cross. That looks like a Tav cross, like an X cross inside of a circle. And then I blew it up, and you guys can be the judge. The bottom slide there sure looks like a cross inside of a circle, and that has not been published. Nobody knows about that, as far as I know. I think I'm the first person to notice that. This is a tomb that was found in 1945, and then it was written up in 1947. This will blow you away here, Jacob, I think. So this tomb was below somebody's house, and the person whose house this was is also the person who gave Eleazar Sukenik, which Eleazar Sukenik is the one responsible for bringing the Dead Sea Scrolls to the world. And the same Arab Christian that gave Sukenik the Dead Sea Scrolls is the same person who was digging in his yard and found this tomb. That is a phenomenal coincidence to me. And if you look, here's the layout of the tomb. If you look at the bottom left, where it says 6, 7, 8, the 7 and 8 are the ones I'm really going to be hitting on here. but you can see that 8 is hidden. I'll tell you why that's important. It's hidden by 6 and 7. This says Jesus aloth. So Jesus is Greek for Jesus. And then you look at aloth. Aloth means risen. Aloth means to go up. And we see that in the Dead Sea Scrolls used this way. And it's like not just to go up, but to be called up out of the grave. So very important. On this same, that was on the lid. On this same ossuary is a cross on all 4 sides. And the reason I pointed out that it was important to know where this was in the tomb, people have said that they just made stuff up. I'll just be honest. They made it up, that these crosses don't mean anything, that these crosses just mean that the ossuary is being used or something. Well, that's a total lie because of where it was found inside of the tomb. So Eleazar Sukenik, extremely famous archaeologist, the guy responsible for bringing us the Dead Sea Scrolls, is the one that also wrote this up. And he said this tomb is the earliest signs of Christianity. He recognized what Jesus aloth meant. There's other people that have said it means aloes or something, whatever they can make up to get out of the fact of what aloth means. I'm not sure if Sukenik went as far as to say it meant risen or what aloth meant, but people have looked at what aloth means, and now that we have the Dead Sea Scrolls, really know that aloth means like risen. So I think a fair interpretation of this ossuary is, I'm going to try to be scholarly here as much as I can. This, to me, the person who put a cross on all 4 sides and then put Jesus aloth on it, I believe this is referring to Jesus defeated death, Jesus defeated the cross, and Jesus is risen. I believe that is what this ossuary is saying. This next slide was the other ossuary next to it. It's very faint. This is in charcoal. These crosses were also in charcoal, but the aloth was inscribed. Jesus, and then it's been interpreted as iota, omicron, upsilon. You have to get at it really close to look at everything, which is gibberish. Jesus again means Jesus, but iota, omicron, upsilon is gibberish. It doesn't mean anything. Sukenik said it meant woe, like this was some kind of lamentation. Jesus woe. But then if you get down, if you blow it up and look at it, you can see right through the middle. If there was a mark through the middle, it's gone now. I'll go back where you can see from the top right down diagonal to the bottom left, you can see there's like a watermark or some kind of smudging. So I believe that there was another line right there, which makes that a theta. Whenever you change it from iota omicron upsilon to iota theta upsilon, you get, instead of gibberish, you get an abbreviation, nomina sacra, for Jesus, God's Son. So I believe this ossuary says Jesus, and then it also, after that, in nomina sacra, Jesus, God's Son. This is Matthias. And I'm going to go through the next 2 slides, and then I'm going to come back to this. But this is the ossuary of somebody named Matthias. The next slide is Miriam, daughter of Simon. And you can tell that the person named Simon is important in this tomb because that's how the Miriam is known. She's known by her father, daughter of Simon. That means Simon is important. So then we get to blow you away here, hopefully. Simon Barsabas. Now we only know Barsabas from the book of Acts. If you go through Tal Elon, Lexicon of Jewish Names, and you look at how many times Barsabas comes up, it only comes up 3 times. And if you go outside of that, it shows up one more time in the Ascents of Jacob, Ascents of James, and that's where I'm going next here. So we have Simon Barsabas. In Acts, we have somebody named Judas Barsabas. We have somebody named Joseph Barsabas. The older texts say Joseph, not Joseph. That's very important because if you go to Mark 6:3, we have the brothers of Jesus named as James, which is James the Just, Joseph or Yose, Judas, and Simon. So we have 3 people with the name Barsabas: Simon, Judas, and Joseph. And Joseph is an extremely rare diminutive of Joseph. It cannot be a coincidence that the people named Barsabas also have the names of the brothers of Jesus, especially Joseph. And then whenever I stumbled across the Ascents of James, this is something new. I just learned this in the last week or so. It says Matthias, who replaced Judas, also known as Barsabas. And I about fell out of my chair. So we have 4 known people with the name Barsabas, which is like a title, which whenever you get into the Eastern, the Coptic, it's another name for the Desposinai, which the Desposinai are known as the family of the Lord. So we have 4 people known as Barsabas: Simon, Judas, and Joseph. And then if we go back here, we have Matthias. We have a Matthias named, also known as Barsabas. Matthias with a title of Barsabas. So I think what we have here, I think this is the Matthias from the book of Acts that replaced Judas. And this is Simon Barsabas, which would be the Simon, the brother of Jesus. And I hopefully that blew you away. I think it's a good place to stop, Jacob.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So what it shows there, what you're showing there, is that the name Barsaba wasn't just made up by the New Testament. It's
Right.
a real name.
It's a real name.
Archaeological evidence shows that.
Yep.
So basically, would you say that all the other names and similar names, there's also similar names in the New Testament, like Barnabas resembles Barsaba, but it's also Joseph Barsabas in Acts.
Right.
I would take it that you would also infer that those names are historical as well because of
Yes.
this.
Yes. And especially whenever you go to the oldest manuscripts of Acts, it says Joseph and not Joseph. And Joseph is only known in Mark 6:3, and then this ossuary. So that was a unique name to one person until the 2nd century. But as far as the 1st century, nobody's named Joseph. Nobody's named Joseph. Nobody's named Joseph. Nobody's named Jose. So whenever you mix that with the fact that he also had the title of Barsabas, and I don't know how much you've ever gotten into the Eastern traditions, they they just come out and say that yes, Joseph, Judas, Barsabas, and Acts, those are the brothers of Jesus. And then now we have this name here, Simon Barsabas, that we have archaeological evidence of everything.
That's all the questions that I had for now.
Sure. I think the next things I had was the Talpiot tomb, and I think it would be probably too much. We probably need an hour just to go through that. Did you have any other questions on any of the other slides?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much else I have. Oh, wait, I do have more besides Talpiot. Jesus in a fish. Yeshua inside of a great fish. So this would be like the sign of Jonah. The Hebrew letters that you're seeing here inside of this fish is the name Yeshua. So we have the sign of Jonah, and this is also pre 70. I can't believe I almost forgot about Judas Thaddius. So we rarely see names like this. Judas Thaddius is in the list of the 12, and this is his ossuary. There's no other ossuary that even comes close to saying Judas Thaddius like this. So, and this was found in Galilee at Kafar Baruch, which is at the base of the Mount of Transfiguration. Not that far from Nazareth, not that far from what we think of as the traditional home of Jesus. And we have an ossuary of the apostle named Judas Thaddius right here. And it's in one of the local museums there, and that's also how they present it, as Judas Thaddius, the apostle. I think that's it. Oh, then of course the James ossuary that everybody knows about. And we went through the whole trial with the James ossuary. It's the inscription is real. They found patina throughout the entire prescription. I'm sorry, I'm a pharmacist. I almost said prescription instead of inscription. They found original patina throughout the entire inscription. The whole inscription that says James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus, is real. It does go all the way back to the 1st century. This is the ossuary of James the Just, the brother of the Lord, as Josephus calls him. And if there was a contention as whether when Oded bought the ossuary, when a inscription could have been forged, this is a picture of his apartment, or his parents' apartment. I think it dates to 1976 or so. The film, they can tell by the film. And it was not, the James ossuary was not forged. We have photographic evidence, and one of the people that testified that it's not forged is a former FBI agent that specialized in this stuff. So the James Ossuary, the entire inscription is real. It was not forged. I think the next thing is everything Talpiot. So that would take too much time. We can do that another day or something, but I don't know what else I got.
Well, I do have a couple of questions.
You're muted.
No, I'm unmuted now.
I don't
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
I don't know if you're still muted.
No, I'm not. Can anybody in there hear me? Yeah, they're hearing me.
I do not hear anything. When you ask the chat on here, I'll just open up another tab.
Yeah, they hear me. You're not hearing me.
Okay, I got you going on my phone now. I don't know why. Okay.
So I guess you're just going to have to hear me for the phone then.
I have to wait for a delay. I don't know what's going on. That's fine.
I'll only ask one question then, since it's kind of difficult right now. Are you eventually going to get all of this stuff that you've been presenting published?
I hope so. I've been working on it for 2 years now. Too many hours a day, my family would probably say.
All right. Well, considering the audio difficulties right now, I'm going to go ahead and close. And Terry, thank you for joining me.
I apologize, Jacob. I set everything up. My headphone is charged. I don't know what the issue is. I greatly apologize. I was really looking forward to this and was hoping it would go off without any errors, but I failed, didn't I?
No, it's okay. It happens. I'm going to go ahead and play the outro now.
I did read your lips as it said it's okay. It happens. So thank you, Jacob. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, viewers. Thanks for watching this video from the History Valley YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if any of you wish to further support this channel, please consider checking out this channel's Patreon page and becoming a patron, and/or donate through PayPal or through Super Chat during your live stream. Thank you.